All right, thanks for joining me today, everybody. And I have a very special guest. This is Dave Mack. Um, Dave, you've been carnivore for about a year or so now. Is that correct?
Yeah, just on a year. I been carnivore for that 12 months, and it's been fantastic for me.
Great. So, can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Sure. So I've always been a carb addict. Um, from I remember from when I was in even elementary school, I've always been a carb addict. Um, would literally eat loaves of bread during the day, and I remember no matter what I did, I always seemed to have this lump in my stomach, this kind of pot belly, or this kind of it was almost like a beer belly on a young kid. And I just accepted that as well. That's my body composition. That's where I am, and just never able to shift it. Anyway, fast forward to when I was 17 years old, I suffered a stroke from a subarachnoid hemorrhage, a brain aneurysm that burst while I was asleep. And that kind of accelerated weight gain a little bit. I stayed in hospital for quite a number of months, and over that time in hospital, drank a lot of cola, Fanta. Hospital food is not so good. So having that hospital food and also getting my mother to sneak McDonald's in occasionally, that kind of stuff. And so when I eventually got out of hospital, I wasn't my best. And that kind of the pot belly, the beer belly kind of thing was a bit bigger than usual. But one of the saving graces of my stroke was that for the first year or two after having had it and had the operations, I wasn't able to drink. And so I didn't exacerbate the situation with my weight at that time. Um, Following on from that, I began working for a company that was sending me overseas. And when I started working for that company, that's when the drinking did start. And we were out drinking every night because we were all expats. There was nothing better to do. You know, you'd work all day, you'd work really hard because this was a kind of a startup. You work really hard, and then there was a pub downstairs, so we'd all go downstairs to the pub, get super drunk, stumble home, get up the next day and do it all again. And at that stage, I'm 20, 21 years old, and it was just normal life, and you recover from hangovers pretty easily at that age. So that was my life, just eating rubbish, and drinking like there was no tomorrow. And this eventually caught up with me, more than the little beer belly that I had did. And I just felt unhealthy. Um, Fast forward to a year ago, and the doctor said to me, um, you're an alcoholic and you need to stop this. And, this is kind of the first and final warning. And you're also pre-diabetic. And so I had a decision to make at that point. What am I going to do? And he wanted to put me on some medication, specifically at first for the alcoholism, but the medication didn't sound very, very good. It's basically a medication meant to make you violently ill if you drink alcohol. And I've always been kind of medication averse. I like not wanting to take it because I feel like there's a lot of different side effects, that kind of thing. So I wanted to take this into my own hands and try and fix it myself. And I've done low carb in the past, done keto in the past, and thought, I'll give keto a go. that seems to give me self-control when I've done it before, or more self-control than I would usually have. So I decided to give keto a try. He gave me a couple of weeks to try it out first, and keto helped me get off the sugar, get off the carbs, and it also helped me to kick the alcohol. Very early on, though, I found that I was having a bit of a negative reaction on keto, and I was wondering why. I was going to the bathroom so regularly, and I did a bit of research on YouTube, found some videos, specifically one, I think it was by Ken Berry, that said, that the vegetables that I was consuming specifically were quite bad for gastric problems. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll try giving up these vegetables and see what happens. Not thinking anything about carnivore or anything at all at the time. But giving up those vegetables worked, and unknowingly or accidentally, I've been carnivore ever since.
Do you mind telling us what vegetables it was that you were having a problem with?
Um, Spinach, bok choy, and nightshade vegetables like red peppers and yellow
Hmm.
peppers and stuff like that. Mm.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's
I
interesting
think
because I used
the
to.
biggest culprit. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I used to take a lot of spinach in, and I had problems with that. So that's interesting for me. But which one were you gonna
Uh,
say was the biggest culprit?
I think the peppers were the biggest culprit, but
Okay.
I was just doing what I thought was right. Everyone says you need lots
Mm,
of vitamin C and you need iron and all this kind of thing. And I was thinking, okay, well, spinach, vitamin C and iron, and peppers, vitamin C. Okay, I'm doing the right thing. And, little did I know I was poisoning myself.
yeah. Yeah. And so I know you recently hit a pretty good milestone for being alcohol free. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the giving up of the carbs and the alcohol happened on June 3. That was when I saw the doctor. So that the last time I had a drink was June 2nd. So it's been more than a year now. There's been 13 months now that I've been alcohol
13 months.
free. So yeah,
Yeah. That is great. Congratulations.
thank you, thank you.
So I know when I was younger I used to drink a lot too, to the point that I probably could have been labeled as an alcoholic. And it's interesting, people don't realize just how bad drinking can be for your body. Um, I think I mentioned before when I talked to you before that I had a problem with AFib that started about 5 years ago. One of the big things that can cause AFib is a what's the right word? A history of drinking alcohol. So I think that's
Oh,
has a big part of what happened with me, and I think people don't realize all the sugar that's in alcohol. Especially if you're talking about uh, liquor and so forth, right? It's a pretty high sugar content, so it's pretty interesting to me.
yeah, it really is scary
So
when you start to research this stuff and you start to realize what it actually is doing to your body. And the damage you've done to yourself potentially over the last 10, 15, 20 years.
yeah, yeah. So, what other health benefits have you experienced just from doing carnivore? What have you noticed since, in that year or so here that you've been carnivore?
So I'll preface this by saying a couple of things. The list is long, and also that I'm probably going to forget things because there are so many things that improve so consistently and new things that pop up all the time that it's hard to kind of keep track of everything. Um, but some of the things that improve for me are firstly sleep, mood, um, and I think the mood is probably tied into the sleep. So I'm not actually getting longer for the sleep that I get, but the quality is getting better. And so I wake up much better rested, it's much easier to jump out of bed. Um, in a similar line related to mood and mindset, my focus is better. It's easier for me to concentrate. It's easier for me to get things done. Um, I'm much more likely to finish tasks that I start. Um, but that those are the kind of mind or mindset related things. The physically, I don't have arthritis anymore. I had arthritis in my left knee, um, and that made walking really difficult. When I've got a 15-minute walk from the train station to work every day. So it's 15 minutes to work, 15 minutes back to the station at night. And when I had arthritis in my left knee, that felt like I had bones grinding together as I was walking. And it was all I could do I had to try and walk in this way where I wasn't bending my left leg. And it was so painful and so tiring to move around. Um, and that's completely gone. And that's just life changing. There's no way to describe how life changing that is because and until you kind of sit and analyze every little thing that you do in a day, it's hard to appreciate how much things have improved. um, I have improved my balance and a limp that I've got. So I mentioned before I had the stroke, which is 30 years ago. And after having a stroke, you have some immediate recovery and then it stops. And I have suddenly started improving some of those post-stroke kind of leftover things that I had that have just been static for 30 years. So I've put up with a limp all my life. And that's something I've gotten used to. And while that limp is still there, it's gotten increasingly better. And, you can imagine I'm limping on my right side. So it's the right side that was affected. I'm limping on my right side. And when I had the arthritis, I was trying not to bend my leg when I'm walking on my left side. So it was just comical, probably watching me walk back then. And now, the arthritis is gone. I'm not limping as much anymore. And, so my walking and my movement is much more fluid, much more coordinated, much more balanced. And one of the things that I've suffered through for the 30 years is like constantly tripping over. And, because of that limp, I kind of drag my right foot, and I I would be walking, barefoot on concrete, going to the beach in Australia or something like that, and I just suddenly I drag my right foot behind me and trip over, and suddenly cut my foot up and stuff. Um, so that's all gone. Um, and I no longer have gum disease and the associated issues with that, bleeding gums, sensitivity, bad breath. That's all gone. Um, had a bald patch, and I noticed recently over the last year that bald patch has disappeared. Like the hair has been regrowing, and while the hair is finer and not as thick as in other areas of my head, it is growing back. And you know, the like I can look at photos, the back of my head 6, 7 years ago, and the back of my head now, and it's so different. I mean, I am grayer now, but apart from that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it goes on. And one thing I was reminded of yesterday is I getting up off the floor is a different experience now. So I teach kids, and when I'm teaching really young kids, me and the assistant teacher, we were sitting on the floor with the kids, right, with these 5, 6 year olds, and it's a 50-minute lesson, and we'll be sitting cross-legged, and a year and a half ago, standing up after that lesson was a nightmare. Stiff back, stiff legs, stiff everything. I've got to wait for the circulation to come back in my legs. Um, it's just painful. It's horrible. And I've got to bend over and pack up everything that was on the floor. And it was like, oh, this is a nightmare. And now it's just like stand up, get everything done, and it, you know, job's done, no pain at all. And sorry, I realize I talked a
Yeah.
lot there, but that's
So
probably
I'm
the high
really
level.
no, yeah, that's great. And I'm really intrigued by um the stroke and 30 years later having the limp get less severe and I mean, do you even have any idea why that is? Is it just because maybe the pain isn't as bad as it was or
So I spoke about this with Dr. Anthony Chafee, who's uh, my understanding is he's a neurosurgical resident, so he knows a fair
Mhm.
bit about the functioning of the brain, and he was also surprised, but he said that it's likely that what's happening is I may pronounce this incorrectly, but the myelin sheath, I think that's around connecting the spinal cord or something, is maybe repairing itself or getting stronger or something like that. So the messaging is getting better. Messaging is getting more efficient or
Wow.
something like that. Mm.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Mm. So yeah, it's
That's
been life
incredible.
changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you talked about the arthritis, and then you talked about how a year and a half ago it was so difficult to get up when you were on the ground a lot, and how that has gotten better. Those are all great things. And again, what's funny here is we're talking about all kinds of different health things. We're not even really talking about losing weight or anything like that, right? And a lot of times people think like, okay, I'm going to do this diet or whatever because of weight loss, but this is all like health issue related stuff that is being fixed just by eating properly.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like I didn't even think to touch on the weight loss, because like everything else is effectively so much bigger, you know. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, on that,
Yeah.
but
That's incredible.
on that point, weight loss wise, 34 pounds down, and
Okay.
more energy than I've ever had in my life. Like my body actually feels compelled to exercise, um, and I've no longer got the belly. In fact, this is the first time in my life that I can sit down talking to you now and my belly is completely flat while I'm sitting down.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. So you brought up
Mm.
exercise. How did you go about that? Did you ease into it, or did you just go straight into that right away when you started eating this way, or how did that go?
Uh, Exercise for me is like the amount of walking that I do specifically. Like, I live in Japan and I don't have a
Mhm.
car. And so you tend to walk a lot, walking to the station and things like that. Um, and yeah, the, walking is something that I've always enjoyed, but now I actually it feels like my body's telling me I want to move. I want to move more. Like let's move. And so I'm you know, like I say, it's almost I'm compelled to walk and do those things. But yeah, I never really eased into it. It never really stopped. It's just I've got more of a feeling of like I want to do this.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I'm assuming you noticed over time it there was less pain with it, right? The arthritis went away. How quickly did the arthritis actually go away? Was it rather quickly?
So it's hard to pinpoint the exact timeline because it's just something that was gradually getting better that I wasn't really noticing, and then suddenly one day it was not there. But I would say
Mm.
if I started in June, I would say it was probably about 3 months after. The reason most of the things had improved enough so that I was really taking notice, but the arthritis was would have been gone in about 3 months. Um, the reason I know the dates is because it was about a month after that I was starting to feel like I've got to start talking about this. I've got to start that. This is
Mm.
like this just feels like we've just been lied to so much about this stuff, about nutrition and about what we should be eating and about, we need to eat 3 meals a day and all this kind of stuff. And so October was when I loaded my first video on YouTube. So it was me getting on YouTube was really like this kind of I'm angry and I need to say something kind of feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a great segue with saying 3 meals a day.
Mm.
Tell me what your meal plans are. I'm pretty sure you've said before you're OMAD, right?
Yes, so 1 meal a day. And that kind of happened by accident. That was just me one day, not eating until later in the day, having a big meal at that time, and then realizing I wasn't hungry again. And I didn't feel hungry even like the next
Mm.
morning. And so I accidentally fell into OMAD, similar to the accidental way I got into carnivore. And and yeah, since then, I've only eaten breakfast every day. So 7 a.m., I have breakfast, which is 10 eggs scrambled in lard and then topped with about a pound, a little over a pound of ground beef, and with liberal amounts of salt on there. And that's it. So, yeah.
And is that pretty consistent for you?
Yeah, and that's every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
every
Okay.
day. So Saturday and Sunday, I might eat a little bit later, just because I sleep in.
Hmm.
And then on Saturday and Sunday, I might have a second meal, but that's just because I'm going out to dinner with family. And that'll still be just, steak because it's easy to eat just steak in Japan.
So that's great. And I guess even without really saying it, you're pretty much following Dr. Barry's beef, butter, bacon, and eggs thing, right? Because you're basically having beef and eggs every day.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a pretty strict carnivore diet, but it's very consistent, so it's easy to maintain it all the time because you're always doing the same thing, right?
yeah. Um, yeah, and the funny thing is, you'll
Yeah.
talk to someone who's not carnivore about this, and they'll say, "I could never do that. I could never. It's just impossible. How can you only eat once a day?" But what the trouble with that conversation is the conversation is never going to work because they're coming from it from a totally different perspective. They're
Hmm.
coming from it from the perspective of if I don't eat something every 2 hours, I'm feeling like I'm going to pass out because they're eating food that's not nourishing their body. Um,
Yeah.
So it's hard to even have those conversations with people that haven't been on carnivore or at least done keto before.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'll tell you that that was definitely me. Even when I first went to carnivore, I still was like, I'd see all the videos of different people talking about doing OMAD and everything. And at first, it's funny because when I first heard it, OMAD, I'm like, what exactly does OMAD mean? I had to look it up online because I couldn't even figure out what it meant. Then I figured out, okay, 1 meal a day. That makes sense. But I'm like, how are these people consistently eating 1 meal a day? I'm over here eating 2 or 3 meals a day, and I just cannot see how it could work. And then one day I got stricter with my diet, and all I it just kind of fell in place. And unintentionally, just kind of like you, unintentionally, I started eating once a day. It was amazing. And yeah, I was definitely that person before that. I was like, there's no way. How are people doing this?
Yeah, and I've watched before I found those Dr. Berry videos and where he was talking about the plants, and um, I had been watching um, Dr. Sten Ekberg's channel for a while, and he talks a lot about fasting. So before I tried
Mm,
OMAD, I was always like, this is something I need to give a try because he talks about the benefits of this so much, like autophagy and stuff like that. So I really want to try this. So that's also when I had that kind of accidental day that made me realize that OMAD was possible. That's why I was like, okay, I'm just going to stick with this now. Um, and since then, I've done some 48-hour fasts, and it's amazing the almost euphoric feeling you feel when you're on day two of something like a fast. It's like it's hard to
mm.
explain how good it feels. So
It's something I haven't tried. I haven't gone more than maybe 26, 27 hours in between meals at this point. So,
yeah, it's worth giving a
yeah.
try. It was the first time I did it. It was disconcerting, like because it felt like I woke up on day two and it was like the whole day I was walking around bug-eyed, like I feel like I've smoked something or something. Um, but yeah, it was really good.
And then when you're doing that fast, are you just plain drinking water or are you drinking coffee or anything?
So I've still got coffee, yeah. So coffee
Okay.
still is a large part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just black.
Good. Yeah. All right. So, Um, you talked a little bit about how you got like a month or two in or so, and you felt like the need to really start talking about it, right? And that would have been about the time that you started your YouTube channel. Um, and your channel's done great. Like it's grown tremendously. So you've been out there what about 8, 9 months or so, I guess, 10 months on
Yeah,
the with the channel.
yeah, about nine. Yeah, I guess about nine
And
months. Yeah.
yeah, okay. And it's funny because so I started doing carnivore probably about a month or so after you. I just hit a year. Um, and I was you know, I kind of did the whole Ken Berry thing and I started watching other people's videos like Sean Baker and Bart K and so forth. And a couple months into it and stuff, and I started noticing some of the other people that were creating YouTube channels that were doing carnivore. So we're now talking about people that weren't doctors or scientists, right? And your channel was one of the first channels that I found. And I'm going to be the first person to admit here that you're one of my inspirations early on for my carnivore. With being starting shortly after you did, and then watching your channel, that was good inspiration for me. And I've watched your channel and a couple of others, and kind of know what's coming. Like, okay, this is kind of where they're at. This is what they're feeling. This is how I should feel here soon and stuff. So I do want to just say, it's an honor for me to have you on here because I'm like the fan here, right? Like I started this whole thing and got early on grew in my carnivore journey just by watching your channel.
Oh, that.
So it's really cool for me. So let's talk a little bit about your channel then. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say. It's great to hear that you're able to kind of follow along and say, oh yeah, okay, I'm feeling the same kind of things.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about your channel a little bit. And again, it's a channel that has grown tremendously here in the 8, 9 months or so that it's been out there. Um, how has that having that channel? How has that affected your whole journey here with Carnivore?
That's a very interesting question. That's a really good question. Um, One thing I've got in the back of my head that I worry about a little bit is um, if I hadn't started the channel and realized how big and how supportive the community is, would I still be where I am? I I really think the community aspect is a big help to kind of stay on the diet. Now, that's not to say I don't have cravings. I don't feel like, I'm not sitting there while someone's having ice cream going, "Oh, I need to turn away. I can't look at this." I'm not like that, even with alcohol, I don't feel anything. I don't feel like I have to have it. But, like everyone, you have moments of weakness, and I just wonder if I wasn't part of this community, which has been so supportive, would I necessarily have been as strict about things? Um, and so for me personally, I think it's been helpful. I
So
guess along those lines, yeah, it's helped me stick with things
yeah,
and be more strict, but it's also, I think it has helped me to kind of see a lot more about what's really going on than I otherwise would have. Just through comments that people will share and maybe links that they'll share with me and stuff like that. So I can really understand that's why the food industry or the uh, big farmer, whatever it is kind of pushing this way or whatever. So yeah, it's been, I mean, in very selfish ways, it's been super helpful for me. And I
yeah,
hope, like, it's great to hear that it was helpful and inspired you, but I hope it is for other people as well, because I mean, my goal is to put the content out there for other people so that they might be able to stick to carnivore better and understand nutrition um, a bit better from the standard narrative. But yeah, it's been very helpful for me.
yeah. And I can tell you from watching your videos and seeing the comments, all the comments that you get on your videos, that you are definitely helping a lot of people out there. Even if they already were carnivore, just seeing your videos, hearing you talk about the different things and the benefits and so forth, and talking about some of the misconceptions that are out there and so forth. You're and again, you've got like I think what is like around 40,000 subscribers, so you've got a lot of people out there that you have been able to touch and um, help them on this journey. So definitely there's a lot of people out there that I am sure will tell you that they are very happy that they found your channel and very grateful for what you do with your YouTube channel.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, very nice of you to say. Yeah, it's the numbers. Just it makes me shake my head just thinking about the numbers. Like I've had other YouTube channels before, and I've never seen growth like this. So yeah, there's obviously. I mean, it's clear there's a need for this kind of content from yourself, from myself, from Ken Berry, from everyone, because yeah, everyone is, there's so many people hurting.
And the great thing about this community is that we all come together and support each other because we know that um, the ultimate goal is to get more awareness about the proper way to eat and to be healthy and so forth, because we can't rely on our governments to do that for us, to tell us how to eat, or our doctors, because obviously that hasn't been working for years and years here now, right?
Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, even if there's, even if you've got whatever country you happen to be in, whether it's a president, a prime minister, or whatever it happens to be, even if you've got the person at the head of government and they are completely um, fixated on, yeah, we need to fix the nutrition system, you know, they they have so much competition from people in the rest of government, whether it's in House of Representatives or the Senate or Congress or whatever the country is you're in, everyone's fighting about this because they're being lobbied, they're getting money under the table, they're getting campaign contributions, whatever. So it's never going to change at that level. I would say to anyone that hasn't been is considering a carnivore diet or is considering going on to some ketogenic lifestyle, just give it a try. It's well worth it. Just try it. Um, Take everything out of your diet for just 30 to 90 days. Take out the pasta, the rice, the ultra processed food. Take out the fruit, the vegetables. Take everything out just for 30 days, 90 days, and at the end of that 30-day or 90-day period, you won't want to go back. You're just not going to want to go back. You're not going to want to change. You'll feel so good, and nothing tastes as good as health feels. Like there's sorry, a little bit upset. There's so many things you can fix on this diet, and it's just life changing.
Yeah, very well said. All right. Thank you, Dave. This has been such an honor. Like I said, your channel's been great. It's really helped me a lot. I know it's helping a lot of people out there. So make sure you go to his channel and watch his videos if you're not already, because you're missing out about a lot. So thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Brian.
So I ran into a couple of problems with my computer towards the end of the interview. And I apologize for that, but I did have to cut a couple of minutes at the very end of the video. One thing that I had to cut out was when we talked a bit more about his YouTube channel. I talked about the channel, and the link is in the description of this video. Also posting it here. Um, so up here, I'm posting it so that you can see it there as well. And go ahead and subscribe to him if you are not already subscribed, because you're going to love his channel. And if you already are subscribed, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. He puts out a lot of great videos, and just a lot of great content, a lot of good experience on the carnivore diet that he brings and different things that he talks about. So definitely check out his channel.